The head coach of the number 3 ranked Columbia College Cougars, Coach Melinda Ryan Washington, the Cougar volleyball squad down the stretch to the final home matches and then AMC conference tournament time before a return trip hopefully to the national tournament back up in Sioux City, Iowa. Take it to the sidelines real quick. You're on your spot there on the bench, and there's usually, I don't have the exact, I should have grabbed yours off your desk, the leather binder you've got, or your whatever that is, day planner, coupon holder,
nice.
Whatever's in that thing.
Right.
And you're flashing signals back to your girl that's serving. Is that the only thing you're flashing behind there as far as the signals are concerned, or is it also defensively, or is that more?
It's mostly the serve, and I'll give them the number of the zone that I want the ball served, and I'll give them an in or an out sign to the sideline or to the seam, and sometimes I'll shout some other information to them.
How many zones are we talking about?
6 zones.
6 zones. Okay. And that's basically where you want them, you want them to put it.
Yep.
As far as serving it over, and then a little quick little. It's almost like a catcher in baseball as far as the signals.
It's very important when we're playing a good team, especially that you hit the right zones and you hit the right seams to keep the ball away from certain passers, or to get bad angles for the setter or the hitters that are coming out of certain rotations.
And that's all again. As far as there's nothing fancy with the sign, obviously, but and we've talked about it before with the binders that your girls have, that everybody's got that playbook basically of the other team and the scouting reports, and so they already know kind of coming ahead where they're going to be going mostly, or you can change it up a little bit. And I noticed this, the reason I asked this question specifically is the last match against Mobap, and I believe it was Aaliyah Hayes on one of her serves. You flashed the sign and she looked like, okay, all right, we'll go that way, and it worked, and it was kind of one of those moments where I thought, you know what, I'm going to ask exactly what. Now, up at the front, where you got Paula Fajeda there, now she's doing more, flashing more of the defensive setups or the matching.
Sometimes I'll call some plays to her, but most of the time with her serve is a really, really deep jump float, so I don't really call specific zones on hers. Hers is more about pace and just getting good solid contact on the ball. So she doesn't really take zones, because usually it doesn't really matter. You can have a libero in that zone and it's a tough ball to pass. So as long as she gets a solid contact and she's serving from so deep beyond the basketball lines that she doesn't really need those zone calls.
Now, what about at the net when they're putting a signal like behind their back? You'll see them with a little 2 or a 1 or some other different signals. I'm sure that's not what value meal they're ordering after the game.
Sometimes we'll decide whether we're going to block angle or block line on a specific hitter, or which side of the court we're going to take away from. You know, the Aaliyah Hayes situation where she looked over and kind of tilted her head. A lot of our girls, as they become juniors and seniors, do become better students of the game. So the ones that study their binders and really know the game plan, know what zone they're going to be serving, know what servers we're going to be, or serve-receive patterns we're going to be attacking. And sometimes I'll change it up though. We'll attack, everyone will shift, and then we'll call something completely out of the ordinary. And that's what I did on her. I called a short ball to a completely different side of the court, and she kind of
wait a minute, I've been studying this for a week.
But yeah, that's typically what happens. The front row players are calling what side of the court they're going to take away.
Yeah.
So.
And I think, you know, someone that, if you haven't watched the volleyball in person before at Columbia College or at any level, that's a whole nother aspect of just how much, you know, in sync, and there's not just, you know, let's hit it over and, you know, try and make sure we get it. It's not like playing a rec ball trying to get, but so much more strategy involved in exactly who's playing, who's setting to who, and then how much, especially when you have a setter like Paula Fajeda, that can really, you know, does she have maybe a little more freedom than the average player would have on to some level, or?
You know, she's become a student of the game as well, and she's gotten better as she's aged in our program, because we do, and the coaches evolve too. I mean, I've evolved. I've used stats a lot more in the last 3 or 4 years, and in breaking down players and finding tendencies, and really making sure that I communicate that with my veteran players before the game in our scouting reports, so that like a Paula, she's ready and she knows tendencies of both our teams. You know, she's comfortable with the sets that we make in our offense, but also that she's comfortable knowing where to put the ball according to what's happening on the other side of the net. Gotcha. And she's always the one with the pen. She and Aaliyah and several of the other returners are making their own notes as we're going through the scouting report. So students of the game,
right.
It's good.
And so, yeah, if you get a chance, the next time you're watching the match, whether it's here on Mediacom or in person at the gym, see if you can pick up on some of those. I was curious about the signals, especially now you see like the football sidelines where they got to hold the towels up so the guys in the press box behind them don't steal your signals. They don't have spies in the bleachers anywhere trying to seal your zones as far as where you're going to serve them to. Quick word association. I'm going to say a couple of names or a couple of things. Just, you know, quick little Texas at Brownsville.
big. They're big girls,
Yeah.
big long arms. They're a big team, and that can be a weakness as well, though. So
They can't get to that zone fast enough.
we'll see.
We'll see about it. For those of you who aren't aware, that is the only loss for the Columbia College Cougars this season, and they're the defending national champions and at the top of the rankings, 2 spots ahead of Columbia College. Let's go Paula Fajeda.
Intelligent. She does a nice job of being, like I said, a student of the game, and not as much brawn or athleticism on the court, but she uses her brain. She's got good court sense, good knowledge of where she needs to put the ball, puts her body in a good position to make the correct sets. So I'd say intelligence.
Okay. The number 1 drill that your players will hate you for the rest of their lives?
Towel pushes.
Towel pushes. Okay.
Towel pushes. They don't like those.
Just those. I'm not going to demonstrate. But basically, it is you put a towel on the ground and push it to the other end of the court.
Yeah,
clean the
it's
floor.
not towel push, because one by itself isn't too bad, the length of the basketball court and back, but multiple towel pushes. Yeah, we struggle with that.
So that's why, the janitor gets a night off, and you guys polish the rest of the Southwood Complex out on the court. More with Coach Washington again as we wrap things up, talking Cougar volleyball. Just a couple matches left in the regular season, and then it comes into tournament time. We'll talk a little bit about what the team does preparation-wise besides towel pushes up next year on Mediacom Channel 22.